What is the laziest thing you have ever seen someone do? Two of my friends were sitting in a couch. One of them had to buy something online, but his credit card was in the next room. He asks the other guy if he'll get it for him, but alas, they were both too lazy. The other guy hands him his own credit card and tells him to just transfer the money to his account, which he can do on the computer. No one left the couch that day. That is the reason why I memorized my credit card number. Our family got a Wii Fit. I wanted to play but not work out, so I calibrated the board to the weight of my legs when I'm sitting down. My college roommate was that guy who always wore his pajamas to class because he was too lazy to put on pants. When summer came around and it got too hot to wear pajamas outside, he would cut off the legs and make pajorts. In college my roommates were very attractive dudes who spent hours getting ready for parties. I knew I couldn't compete, so I'd usually just wear my bathrobe to parties. That bathrobe was the best thing to happen to me in college. I used to pass medications at an assisted living facility, home for more able-bodied old folks. My co-worker was a tremendously obese woman who used a wheeled desk chair to do her rounds down the hall. She'd push the med cart forward, then scoot her chair along behind it. I was once on the elevator when I heard "Hey, wait," there was Donna, furiously scooting toward the elevator in her desk chair. How ironic, she works in an assisted living facility. I saw a friend lying on a couch grab a chick's arm, move it towards a remote control that was just out of his reach, lay her hand on it, ask her to grab, then bring the hand arm with remote control to his belly. My ex-roommate didn't break up with his girlfriend because she did his laundry and walked his dog. He broke up after college because he moved back home and his mom could do those things. My brother called me from upstairs while I was downstairs to order pizza. He called me on his phone to come get his phone to call the pizza place. Some people really don't like ordering things. A mate of mine just woke up and felt like playing The Sims 3. The CD was in the next room but he didn't want to get out of bed, so he pirated it. This put him over his download limit. My brother once watched Casino Royale twice in a row because you can hit eject on the remote, but if you don't get up to take the disc out, it just feeds it back into the machine and starts playing it again. After the second round, he finally got up to pee and took the disc out of the machine. But then he watched an entire season of Psyche on Netflix without moving. Also, when we were kids he'd eat cereal while watching TV and just slide the bowls under the couch instead of walking them back into the kitchen. We have an acquaintance that works as a college teacher because she couldn't pass the test required to be a public school teacher. She works at the local college and lives maybe a quarter of a mile away. She also does not have a driver's license. This is important. Rather than walk to her house after her lessons for the day, she always waits on one of her colleagues to get off work to deliver her to her house. And I'm not talking about a 20-minute wait here. It's more like 4 to 5 hours that she sits up there waiting to get a ride home when she could be there in 10 minutes easily. Pisses me off to no end. When I was a freshman in high school, one of my friend's families were hoarders. While visiting, I left a water glass on top of the TV. It was still there when we graduated 4 years later. Little did you know they were actually a very neat family that arranged their house into the same disheveled mess every time you came over to frick with you. My last roommate was stoned on the couch one night, laying there with a jar of peanut butter, box of cereal and a butter knife. He was jamming the knife into the peanut butter and then shoving the knife into the cereal box and pulling out a shish kebab of Cheerios and practically deep-throating it. I am ashamed, because that person was me. When a friend of mine has a cold he can't be bothered to keep wiping his nose when it runs, so he just jams Kleenex up his nostrils. He walks around in public like this. Okay, I've done this when my nose wouldn't stop running, and I'm trying to avoid further pain because it's red and sore from blowing and wiping, but never in public or in front of company. Use a plastic banana from the fake fruit bowl to make lines on the carpet so it appeared they had, in fact, vacuumed as ordered by a grandparent. I've seen someone walk his dog while in his car. He had the leash outside the window and was driving in circles. The world worries me. Nice to meet you, circles. An ex-girlfriend of mine was one of the laziest people I've ever met. When we went shopping, she would get annoyed if I parked anywhere apart from right near the entrance. For example, one time she was sitting on the bed eating crisps. It's the little details that make a story, and I announced I was going out for a run. I asked what she was going to do whilst I was gone and she just said nothing. She then shut down like a robot being powered off. Just slumped a bit and stared at the bed. It was actually pretty funny to watch. I got back an hour later and she was still there, just doing absolutely nothing. It was kind of impressive. Her ability to be so lazy she couldn't even be bored. My sister once said, some people are so lazy. For instance, at the mall, some people will just park in the spots farthest away so they don't have to look for parking. I was walking behind someone who was eating fast food. He stops and drops the empty bag up against the building like a faux oops moment. He was 10 feet away from an empty trash can. There are others, but this was the first one I could remember this morning. Maybe not the laziest, but at this very moment, my laptop battery is at 2%. When it dies, instead of getting up and walking across the room to grab my charger, I will stay in the same exact spot and continue Redditing on my phone. A best friend of mine worked at a grocery store as a cashier. A woman in a scooter stopped him and asked him to get a red can on the bottom shelf. He is colorblind, so he asked for the brand name on the can. The woman impatiently pointed and said the red can. Right there, so he sighed and said, "Mom, I'm colorblind. I need to know the brand on the can." So the woman looked at him and said, "Oh," got out of the scooter and picked up the can for herself. Potential laziness at its finest. A former friend of mine once broke up with his girlfriend by simply ignoring her until she stopped texting calling. Took a couple of weeks, but at least he didn't have to go to the trouble of actually telling the girl he was breaking up with her. This was in college, not high school. That's cold. Tell your friend he's a dong. It might not be the laziest, but one that really pisses me off is people who leave shopping carts in other spaces instead of walking 10 feet to put it in the shopping cart area. I saw one lady who was parked to the left of the return area leave her cart in the spot to her left because that is the side of her stuff that she was loading on. So many times I have seen people push carts behind other cars. I don't understand people. One of my friends is the laziest mother alive. I've seen this guy take a pee in an empty bottle because he couldn't be bothered to walk up some stairs to a toilet. He's passed up sex with a smoking hot girl because it involved taking a 45-minute bus journey. I've watched him struggle to eat a pineapple pizza, which he hates, because the pizza place got his order wrong and he didn't want to go through the hassle of getting a new one. And finally, I've seen him go to the supermarket on a Sunday morning in a smart white shirt, pajama bottoms and flip-flops purely because they were the first clothes he could find. This guy's living the life. My dad once wanted my mum to make him a cup of tea. She said no. So using his mobile, he called the house phone. She got up to answer it, not knowing it was him. Cast your mind back to the horrors of life before caller ID. And he said, "While you're there, put the kettle on, will you, love?" We pee ourselves laughing. He got his cuppa. So freaking British. My brother doesn't take the cardboard tube left when the TP is used up off the holder. He just crushes it and slides a new one over it. That actually sounds like more work than just taking the old one off. Once I was lying on the couch and watching TV. After my show ended, a rerun of Maury came on, and I was acutely aware of how I really didn't want to watch freaking Maury. All I had to do was pick up the remote and change the channel to something less cancerous. The remote was laying on my chest. I watched Maury. Connected a bunch of straws together to create a huge one so I could drink my milk from the comfort of my bed without having to move and spilling it down my chin. Dude, that's not lazy. That's dang good engineering. I work with the laziest fucktards on earth. Saw a guy tape a rake to his belt loop and just stroll about smoking rather than prep an area for hydro seed. Another guy I worked with won't even tie his work boots. Same guy intentionally grounding the power saw on every stick just so he'd have to sit and sharpen the chain more often, with a thermos of coffee and a smoke. Sometimes, when I don't feel like walking up the stairs, I fake a limp toward the elevator so people won't know how lazy I am. I'm too lazy to wait for elevators, so I just use the stairs. My old roommate used to hate to clean. His room would get so filthy that the smell would leak into our living room and throughout the house. Most of the time I would break down and go clean it, but one time he was bringing his new girlfriend over, so he cleaned his room. I was impressed by this. Before she came over, he told me he ran out of time and left a couple of garbage bags on the back porch, and that he would get them when she left. No big deal. He is the only one to use the back porch because he smokes. Well, a few weeks later he ends up moving out. I realize that he has taken most of my china and silverware, but he swears he didn't. Either way, my china is missing and he knew he wasn't supposed to ever use it unless we had important guests. I was mad, but what could I do? Before I called the cops or anything though, I have to clean his room and prepare it to rent out. I go out on the back porch to set up the new table and chairs, and that's when I see it. A massive pile of 20+ garbage bags thrown off the side of the porch. I immediately call him to tell him to come clean this crap up. He apologizes and says he will be there that night. About 3 days later I break down and clean it, but they have been sitting in the hot sun so long that they fall apart as soon as I touch them. I was mortified to find that when they fell apart, all of my fine china and silverware would fall out. So instead of walking to the kitchen 15 feet from his door, he started to throw out my china that was passed down to me from my mother. To this day, I find him rather disgusting and do not allow him in my house anymore. This made me angry. Not use their freaking blinker. Seriously, why do people not take 0.1 seconds out of their day to move one finger half an inch, when it could potentially save lives? Freaking lazy morons. There is a school of thought that using your blinker is giving information to the enemy. While I generally agree with you about the matter, I have been a few places where the drivers are so aggressive about cutting off anyone who uses their blinker that it's actually safer not to. Glares angrily at Rhode Island. I have heard that my own habit of letting the dog lick food off my shirt is incredibly lazy, and that it would be remotely more proper if I would first at least brush the food off my shirt before ordering her to eat it. Those people are judgmental. If they didn't want to see that, they never should have gotten in the sauna with you in the first place. My dad weighs about 500 pounds. Not only does he literally sit around the family room, which, ironically, the rest of the family isn't allowed in, watching TV all day every day, but he has us serve him food. He hasn't brushed his teeth since I've been born, over 20 years. He showers twice a year maximum, and he pisses in a bucket. Yes, he's too freaking lazy to even use the restroom. The only time he leaves his lair is to take a crap. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's gotten too lazy to even do that. Can't say I'm not thankful, though. The smell of his body cheese lingers for hours. Your family is enabling him. They really should stop. My ex-roommate would make himself something to eat and leave the trash on the kitchen counter. Trash can was literally one step away to the left. My dad texted me from inside the house and told me he needed help. I rushed downstairs thinking he was hurt, only to find him sitting on the couch. He wanted a beer. I quit smoking. Cold turkey. I had surgery on my legs and I was on crutches for the better part of 2 months. I really didn't want to go outside every hour or so and smoke, so I just played video games and sat instead. Cold turkey. I'm still not sure how I feel about it. Proud or ashamed? You should be proud. Not many people have the pure talents to turn their laziness into a truly beneficial thing. My brother likes to drink water before bed, so his room has layers of glass cups all over the place, including on the kill over his bed. Well, I went in there 2 weeks ago and one of the cups on the kill had shattered, covering a good 25% of his bed with glass shards. I just went up there to check and, yup, the glass is still there. His comforter and pillow are now localized to the clean side of the bed. He still has his clean sheets on the floor too. Alright, this is where I stop reading. Nothing below this post can top sleeping with shards of glass. Some of the greatest minds of my generation wash their clothes then never fold them or put them away once the clothes are clean. I've seen someone clip their fingernails at a restaurant table while others were eating around them. The laziest is CM box, though. At my friend's house they have 3 male roommates that share a bathroom and I went to use it yesterday. The trash can was overflowing and there were what had to be 6 empty rolls of toilet paper on the floor. and an empty one in the toilet paper holder. The full one was on the sink. Seriously, it's not that hard. I saw this guy sleeping one day. He woke up around 11 AM completely on his own. No alarm or loud noises. Then he rolled to the other side of the bed and slept until 2 PM. Okay, that guy was me. That guy is everybody. Knew a guy who would pee in 1-liter bottles in his room because he was too lazy to walk downstairs and use the bathroom. The topper? He wouldn't dispose of them until he had about 12 pack of liters of pee. Have to nominate myself here. Too lazy to do the dishes. Put a layer of tin foil around the plate. 8. Put on another layer of tin foil above the rest of the food and tin foil. Eat and repeat. The plates eventually became pretty heavy and thick due to all the layers of tin foil and old food. My BF and I call them spatterplates. We are gross. One of my colleagues invested a great amount of money and time in creating all sorts of remote controlled stuff at his home. Blinds, lights, door locks, thermostats, even his freaking toilet seat position is controlled by motion sensors, eye remotes, timers and so on. I know this will get buried, but my husband can't close a drawer to save his life. He'll open the drawer to get out a pair of socks or whatever, then just leave it hanging open. He does the same with the closet door, and he'll carry his plates to the kitchen counter, right above the dishwasher, but won't actually stoop down to put the dishes in the dishwasher. He works hard, but is so lazy when it comes to these things. I used to be one of the laziest people I know. I don't drink milk or sugar in my coffee because the milk was in the fridge, and while I was growing up the coffee I drank was kept in a different cupboard to the one where the sugar was. I don't eat butter on my bread for similar reasons. Also, it means I don't have to clean another knife. When I'm feeling particularly lazy, I eat the entire sandwich over the sink so that I don't have to dirty another plate. I don't add salt, pepper or condiments to my food for the same reasons, even if they're on the table at a restaurant unless someone really recommends it. I make fish fingers in the microwave. Soggy, but it gets the job done and I don't have to dirty a pan or wait for oil to heat up, etc. I make egg in a microwave for the same reasons. Crack it in a bowl, 45 seconds on high, the egg comes out in a dome shape. Bonus, you can tip the bowl over onto a slice of bread and then you have a mess free, barring a few crumbs which you can clean up easily. Egg sandwich. I love seafood, but I avoid fish with many bones or shellfish like crab because it takes forever to remove the shells and bones. The only food I have in my fridge at the moment is olives. You can eat them raw, frozen hake, and frozen veggies. Frozen hake and veggies can be cooked in the microwave with minimal mess or fuss. When I don't feel for that, I eat or order out. All my socks are black in the same size so I don't ever have to decide which pair to wear and I don't have to waste time figuring out which one goes with which after doing the laundry. I sleep on my couch most nights cause I don't feel like walking to my bed, which is about 10 meters away. All my clean clothing is laying on my bed, waiting for me sort and pack away. Which will never happen because every morning I just grab a random t-shirt and jeans and head off to work. Sometimes I need to iron it, but I do it just enough so that it looks like at some point it was ironed. It doesn't bother me that my clothes are on my bed cause most nights I sleep on my couch. When people come over I stuff my clothes in my wardrobe, literally, and then I take it back out the next morning. Anyway, a friend related a story to me that made me realize that I wasn't as lazy I thought. He went to visit a friend one day and her mother offered him coffee. She used hot water from the tap, not the kettle because it was quicker and didn't make that much of a difference. It must have been quite an ordeal for you to type all this out. Having left a Cessna 180 at 9,500 feet on his 65th jump, the skydiver looked at his ripcord and realized that simply pulling that ring would mean another 30 years of chores, errands, arguments, oil changes, tax returns, dental appointments, clogged gutters, overdraft notices, insufferable receptions, weddings, funner. My friends and I were all hanging around once and were set on watching a movie. The problem that arose was that someone had to get up to put the DVD in the player to watch it, but no one had the motivation to get up and place the DVD in. So we pressed the open disc tray button and had one shot, one opportunity, to throw the DVD from where we were sitting to land the DVD on the disc tray. I rose to the challenge. Without much thought I carelessly tossed the DVD, and it landed. halfway on the disc tray. Now all we had to do was somehow get the DVD fully on the tray, so we threw whatever was within our effortless reach to meet this objective. Somehow this approach worked and we were able to get the DVD in, and it only took 5 minutes to get a DVD in. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.